This video is going to show you how you can create your sculpture in the round. So I've already done my 6 thumbnail sketches where I have 6 different ways that I could create cupcakes. For my sculpture in the round, it might be a little bit different because I would probably most likely only be doing 1 cupcake unless I felt like I had time to do a series of small cupcakes. So I'm going to stick with my 1 cupcake, and then for my final sketch, I'm going to sketch out my final design to kind of try to show how it might look as a sculpture in the round. So at the bottom here, the bottom of my cupcake would be a tube, and then the top part of my cupcake kind of forms that half of a sphere shape, but it's just a different kind of shape that would show the frosting of my cupcake. So I can use my photo as reference to see those basic shapes, and I kind of broke it down into more simple shapes so that I only have 2 little parts of frosting. And then at the bottom, I drew the different shapes that I need to cut out of paper to create those forms. So for the tube, I need to cut out a long rectangle to create my tube. Then I need 2 circles, so one for the top of my tube and the bottom of my tube to create the form of the tube. And then I need the top part of my cupcake here. I drew out that shape, and I know that I need probably around 8 pieces, and I can always add more to that if I need to. And then for my bottom part, I was going to cut out kind of like a triangle with flat bottom that I can put around my tube to add some detail, kind of as like a layer, a little bit like a relief. And then I also drew these little marks in here for negative space to show some sprinkles to add detail to my cupcake. So the first thing I'm going to do is start cutting out these shapes from paper. So I'm going to start with my rectangle. So I'm going to take my piece of paper here. I have my rectangle drawn out, and I'm not entirely sure how long I want it, so I just drew a pretty long strip for my rectangle. And then I can take this now and I can wrap it around and create my tube. The easiest way to add the top and the bottom of my tube is once I secure this tube and I have this ready to go, then I can put it onto another piece of paper and glue it down to another piece of paper. And once it's glued to this bottom piece of paper, I can take my scissors and cut around that. That's the easiest way to get the same shape on the top and the bottom of my tube. Once I do that, then I can start by drawing the shapes for the top part of my frosting. So I started this by drawing out half of it because I knew that I wanted the other side of it to be symmetrical. So I drew half of it, I cut it out on a straight line so that I could trace one side and then flip it and trace the other side so it's symmetrical on both sides. And then that way I can kind of keep that shape of the frosting, but it's going to be symmetrical and a little bit more simplified. Then I can cut out this shape from my piece of paper and trace this a whole bunch of different times, however many times, 8 times, and then cut those out, and then cut out my negative space from those and my other shape down here so I can start assembling my cupcake. So here's what that would look like as a final cupcake with my tube at the bottom. I have the circle on the bottom, circle on the top for those shapes. Then I also cut out these kind of flat triangles to glue around as like a relief, which gives it a little bit more detail for the bottom part. And then the top part, I have that shape that I cut out and I repeated, and then I cut in these little negative spaces here for sprinkles, and I just kind of glued them together like I would if I was making that half of a sphere, and that created the shape of my sculpture in the round of a cupcake.